Hello, namaste, and welcome, my friends. So, today we are going to learn how we are going to submit this form in the server by proper validation, how we can do the validation manually, how we can do the validation using React form hooks, and also we can add validation schema using Yup. So, there is a lot to learn, even it's a simple project, but we are going to learn a lot. So you can see how we can show such errors in our form. So it's going to be an interesting project. If you don't know how to handle forms, how to handle validations, then this is the perfect video for you. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. If you have any questions after this video, always put in the comments, or you can join our Discord server where you can ask me the questions with the code snippet, so it will be much clear and easier for me to understand your code and answer your questions. So if you are ready, let's learn. So in the last video we have completed this design, but there are few things remaining, like the member of code club. So basically, if you are a member of the code club, then we will show this. If you are not a member, then we will not show this line in your user card. Okay. So for that, we have to add a switch which user can check or uncheck if he is member or not, right? And one more thing, which is the image. So we created this button, but we are not showing that image, correct? So these two elements we need to bring in. So when user will upload the image, we will show that image over here. Fine. So let's do that one by one. So let's first start with the image. Okay. So if we go into form data.js file, we have this image, right? Let's make it reusable. So we are going to create a component for that. And here we can say imageview.js. Okay. And let's create our component. We'll take the URI from here and we'll pass the URI over here. Okay. Now go back to form data and import this image view over there. Comment this completely for now. Okay. And here I will say image view. And when I click, it is imported. Okay. And URI equals to the image view. Okay. Now I think we can remove this. Here, let's import the image component from the library. Okay. But we are not able to see the image. We also forgot to add the styling. So let's copy this from here. So let's put it here. Save this. It's going to show our image. Okay. So that's done. Now we can use the same for the form. So here we have our user form, and after enter the details, we can import the image view, and it will take a URI here. And so let's import this quickly. Okay. And also we can bring it to center by providing it some extra styles to the a container. Here we can use this and let's say border width to 1. So here we have spacing align items to the center. Okay, and now this it brings our image to the center. Now it's better, right? Now let's prepare our form so we can submit it to the backend server. Okay, so what we will do first, that we will try to get the values. Okay, all the values we will get from this form. Okay, we will log that values first. Once that is done, we will prepare our JSON server and we will submit this data to that server. Okay, so to collect the form data and submit it to the server, we are going to follow the 6 steps. Okay, for now we are just going to console log it. Okay, and first of all we need to import use state. Okay, so use state is a hook which allow us to manage our data on the component level, which I already told you and explained you in my last video. Second, for each text input, we need to add a use state, like for getting the user, title, bio, LinkedIn, GitHub, website, and image. For each one of the form input, we need to add the use state. Third, we are going to create a function which will get the complete data. We will arrange our data in an object, and finally this object will be submitted to the server. But for now we are going to console.log it. Okay, so we are going to see that data in our command line. Okay, so how to add that use state, how we are going to use this. So basically each text input takes on change text and value. Okay, if we go inside this, because we have created these custom components. Okay, basically we are importing the text input from React Native. After that we are using this as the input because our component name is text input, so there should not be any conflict. That's why we are going to use the name input over here. So we are going to use the input here, and we are using all the required props and the remaining props which we have. So whatever the valid props passed by the component, it's going to accept it by the core component, and that's why we are using dot 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 props over here. So whatever the valid props which are accepted by the text input, if we use those, like the on change text and value, is going to accept that. So basically we are passing this to our core component. Okay, so we are writing this. After that we have created our form handler function. Okay, we structure our data and console logging that data. We have to configure this on change text and value. Okay, so for username we are passing set username, so it's going to set the username, whatever the username we are typing in the form. Okay, so like this for each text input we have to add that. Okay, and finally, right now we are not focusing on the image upload thing. We are going to work on that, but for now we are going to work on the submit button. Okay. So here on press, we are passing a callback function. So when user will press this, the form handler function will be called. Okay, handle form, which is this one. It's going to take all the data which is collected by our use state. So whatever the current data it have, it's going to structure this into an object, and we are going to log that. Okay, so here if we go, and as you see, I am already getting the output, but for now let me change this name, and let's submit this. You can see the username is changed to Jack, and we will have the same data. Right now image is null, so don't worry about that. Okay, rest everything is working fine, correct? So now we are getting our data in the form. Okay, next let's work on upload image. Okay, so first of all we need to install a package called image picker, and this package is provided by Expo. Okay, so the package name is Expo image picker. To install this, we will use npx expo install. To configure our image picker, first of all, we need to import the image picker library. Okay, once this imported, we have to create a function, and it will be a async function because it could take time for a user to select an image. So we have to say async await image picker dot launch image library async. Okay, and whatever the result we are going to get, we'll put it into result variable, and if result dot cancelled, if it is not cancelled, then we are going to console log the result. Else, if user cancelled the selection, we are going to show him an alert. Once we created the function, the third step is to call that function on the button press. Okay, and so on press we have to give that function name, and let's save this and let's try it. I will click on upload image, and here we get a model, and right now it is showing there are no images inside our emulator. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will quickly stop this, let's say, and let's try to put some images. I don't know this will work or not, but let's try. It is uploaded or not, I'm not sure. Okay. Okay, the image is uploaded successfully. Now let's open our. Okay, you did not select an image, so we got the alert. That is perfect. Let's try again. Still, it is not showing over here. This app can only access the photo you selected. Hmm. So what we will do, we will just move this from here. So let's select this and then move to, let's say we want this to be moved. Where it is moved, I'm not sure. So I have this one image here. I will select this, and now here you can see we have an array with an object. Okay, and in that object we have something called file, and that file is having our image. Now we need to select that image. Okay, for that what we are going to do is again going to create a new use state. Okay, I think we already have our use state for image, which is image and set image. So we'll use the same. So rather than console logging that, we'll use set image to result dot assets, and because that one is the first object, we are going to use 0, and dot URI, because you can see we have that inside the URI. Okay, so we set the image and that image path will be stored here. Now we want to show that image into our image viewer, right? And for that, what we can do here is, because sometimes we will not have any image, in that case we can use this as a placeholder image, and if we have the image, we will use our image or this image. Okay, so URI should be this or this. Okay, if we have image, let's use that, else use this. Let's save this and let's reload this once. Okay, now let's try to upload the image. Here we go. Our image is changed and it is showing. So great. Now we are getting our image as well. Okay, guys. So let's test our form one last time. So I will use a username. After that, just I will fill up this with some test, and let's upload the image. Okay, and let's submit. And you can see now we are already set this image upload, and also this image is here. So initially we were getting null in the output, but now we should get the file path. Okay, so let's submit and see in the our command line. Submit, and here we go. Okay, you can see we have all the data. Also we have the image link which we can upload on any server or third party services like Cloudinary. Okay, but for this example we are not actually going to upload it. I just want to show you how you can pick an image. because right now we are not working with real server. It's a JSON server, and JSON server don't allow you to upload the file. But now we get our object, and this is ready to post on our JSON server, right? So let's quickly start a new command line over here, and let's get into expo folder. And here we are going to create a new folder called learn from SRV for server. Let's get into learn from SRV. Okay. And here what we are going to do is going to open our code editor, and we will create a new file called db.json. We know our data structure will be like this. So it will be an object, and here we will have users, and it will be an array, and this user will have definitely an ID and everything. Okay, so what we will do, we will just let the JSON server upload it to the user. So I will keep it blank for now, and I'll go to terminal. Here I will say npx JSON server and the db.json, and boom, here we go. Our endpoint is ready. Okay, but as you know that we will not able to access this from our emulator, so I need to export it on the internet, so it will be available on the internet and we can access it from the emulator. And for that we are going to use ngrok. So you need to check how I configured ngrok in our first or second video. You need to find out, you check the timeline, you will get it if you don't have installed the ngrok yet. Okay, and then I have to say http, and here we can quickly grab this path, go here and just put it over here and enter, and it's going to give us a forwarded URL. Okay, and this URL we can use here. Okay, so in src I'm going to create a new folder called APIs, and in here I will call main API.js. Okay, and still I need to install Axios, so I'm going to do that. But for now, I will just paste this URL here and comment it. Okay, so let's save it for that. After that, I will minimize this because our work is done for now. And here I will open the terminal again, and I will install npm Axios. Axios is installed now. Okay, so let's quickly configure it here. So I'm going to import Axios from Axios. Okay, and I will say export default Axios create. So here we are going to create an instance of Axios. Going to take a base URL, which is this URL. Okay, and let's accept the header and the content. Okay, so let's save this. Our instance is ready. Now we can use this to submit our data. So quickly we will go back to app.json, and here I'm going to use that API to submit the data. Okay, why I'm going to use it here? Because there's the parent component which have both our form data component and user form. Okay, So both of this. So what will happen is once we submit our data from here, so we can also go over here and grab this all data and submit that, okay, from here. But we will not have the path to access it back when that button is clicked, because once we click this button, we need to submit this data, as well as we need to get that submitted data back from the server and show it as a card, right? And if we do it from here, it will be difficult for us to pass that data to the form data to this component. That's why we will go to parent component and we will submit the data to our server from here. We will get back the response that data is submitted successfully and here is your data. Once we get that data, we will update our current data and pass that to the form data. And that form data is going to show up a new card with the data. Okay. I hope you understand. And if not, let's do it practically and understand properly that how it's going to be done. Okay. So first up, I will say const handle submit. Okay. We are going to get our instance of Axios. Okay. So for that, what we are going to do is const result equals to await. So let me quickly import that Axios from it's in dot slash src slash apis slash main API. Okay, so we'll get that Axios from there. Then here Axios dot post. Okay, and what we are going to post is the data we are going to get. Okay, so I will say user data. Okay, and it will be an object. So first, also, so we need to mention the endpoint, which is users. If we don't remember, we can go back and check. Here it is. And if we click here, so this is the users endpoint. Okay. So if we go back over here and click here, so let me quickly open that over here and slash, and I will say users. Okay. There's the message from ngrok. So just click on visit and you can see we have an blank array over there. So let's keep it like that. Okay. So once we put our endpoint, after that we need to submit the data as user data. So it should be an object. So we get the handle submit and we will pass that as a prop here and we will call it submit equals to handle submit. Okay, and I will copy it here. I will click here. It will take me back to the user form component. Here, I will destructure it from the prop and I will use the submit. Okay. Finally, once we get the data, so we can pass that to submit. Okay. And once user click here, it will be submitted to the endpoint. So it will trigger this function. This will trigger the Axios dot post and it will get the result and we can console log the result. And basically Axios provide us our data back in the data object. That's why we have to put result.data. So I hope this will work, and let's see. So let me save this quickly, and we already have this. Okay, and I will just say submit. Let's see if there is any error. It seems like there is no error. Let's go here and refresh, and here we go. We got our data back, and it is showing on our server. Okay, you can see the ID is automatically provided by the JSON server. So awesome. We are able to post our data on the server. And this is the image link. So definitely this will work for this device. But if the same data is accessed from other device, it will not work. Okay. So for now, we can keep it like that. And don't worry, I'm going to show you how you can upload it to the third-party upload services like Cloudinary. Okay. So we are going to use Cloudinary in future to upload our images or videos on the internet, and we will able to use the Cloudinary to display the images. Okay. So this is done. Now, once we get the data, we need to pass it to the form data. So it could show that data on the card, right? So what I will do is I will create a use state definitely, and it will be, let's keep it an object. Okay. And we'll have user and set user. I think we can call it user. It's the data. Okay, it will conflict with this. So we will say user details, and we will use the same set user details. Set user details. Okay. And I will pass this to the form data. Okay. User detail equals to user detail. Okay. So we also have to set our data, whatever data we are getting back. We'll use this. Okay, use state is not imported from React. So let's quickly do that, and it is done. Now let's go back to form data. Let's destructure our prop, and here we can use user details dot image. Okay, let's see that if it works or not. I'm not sure, but I also still want to try. And then we will have user details dot username, user details dot title. So here I think we've missed one thing, but let me keep it like this because we should get some basically member or not as a true and false, but we are not submitted that. I guess we missed the check checkbox. It's going to be a switch actually. For this, we are going to work on that. Don't worry. Here we will have our bio and user detail dot bio. After that, here we will have different links. For each link, we have user details dot LinkedIn, then have user details dot GitHub, and user details dot website. Okay, let's save this. So right now, as you can see, it is completely blank. So let's reload this once, and we will still see it blank because once this is loaded, it is not fetching the data. Okay, so we need a way to fetch the data as well. Okay, so what we are going to do is cons handle fetch data equals to async. Okay, and here is kind of similar, but not the similar as it should be. So basically, we are going to get the data, and the data will be an array. Okay, so we cannot set the data directly over here as this. So we have to say 0 over here. So it will put the first array into our state. Okay, so let it be like that. After that, we want some trigger which will run this function, right, to fetch the data. And for that, we are going to use effect. Okay, and as I explained you in the last video how it works, but still I will repeat that because this should be clear to you that how this works. So basically, first of all, import this from the React. So let's import it quickly. Use effect. Okay. So how this works is it takes an callback, this callback function, and a dependency. Okay. So when first initially our component renders, use effect run, and whatever the function or whatever you put it here, it will be fetched automatically. Okay, and that's why we use effect, and use effect will look for any side effects, and we can put some dependencies over here. If we put some dependency, if that dependency is changed, it's going to re-render our component. Okay, so many times it depends that our state is getting changed. We can put our state as a dependency, and we will reload or re-render our component with the new data. Okay, but for now we just want this to be fetched once. So if we have our dependency empty, it's going to run once. Okay, so I will put it like this. So initially what will happen that it will come and it will re-render. So what will happen, this will render, it will run. Once it runs, it will run this function which will go and grab our user from the server, and it's going to set that user to our use state, and use state will get a new data. So user details is going to be sent to the form data, and this form will be re-rendered and show us the new data. Okay, so that's the theory. Let's see if this works or not. Here we go. It is showing the image as well, the name, the title. We are going to work on the member of code club now, but we have test bio. Okay, everything is working. Now one thing, that whenever, let me open the server. So now this data is there. When we will put in new data, it's going to create a new object over here. But every time we need the latest data. Okay, so what we are going to do is we want to grab the last data of this array. Okay, and for that what we can do is we can say, so this should be result dot data. Okay, and now I guess this should work. So now it is working fine. So I guess you get the idea. So let's try some new data over here, and I will say Tom, and again we'll just fill it with some test. Okay, and we will just keep the default one, and I will submit this. Let's submit it. Now it is submitted, and you can see Tom is showing now, but we don't have image. So let's check what is the problem with the image. So definitely what happened that we have not selected an image. That's why. So let's reload. So that's why image is null. Okay. So what we can do is we can go back to form data, and here as we have user details dot image. So if this image is null, then we have to show some default image. Okay, so what the same thing we have do for our user form, right? Yeah, over here. So basically I will grab this, and if this is null, then it's going to show this. Let's save this, and now we have our default image showing. Okay, so now the last thing is the switch button to show if this is he is the member of code club or not. Okay, so let's do that next. What I'm going to do, going to open the browser, and let's find. Okay, and if we go here, you can see the code for switch. So let's copy it quickly, and there are some configurations also. So let me copy these two first. We want this in user form, right? Go at the top, and here we'll paste it. Okay, so basically it's the use state is enable and set enable. Okay, and there is a function which will toggle, so it will set this to true if the previous state is false. So basically how this works is, if you provide a callback to set is enabled, which is coming from use state, then it provides a previous state. So previous state is false, right? And it's going to store the previous state with an exclamatory mark is not whatever it is. If it is true, then it will be false. If it is false, then it will be true. Okay, so what we are going to do with this function is we are going to switch that if the use state have previous state of false, then we will make it true. If it is true, then we will make it false. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Next, we are going to copy this. Okay, and after title, I'm going to paste it here. Cool. So basically, it is a track color, and here's the color they are using. We can change that. Then thumb color, and then for iOS, right now we don't have iOS, so I can remove this. Then we will have on value change. So basically, it is toggle switch. This one, this function, which is called on every change. Okay, whenever it is changed, that function will be called, and the current value, it is enabled or it is disabled, whatever. Okay, let me save this. Okay, I forgot to import this, so let me quickly import it from React Native. Now you can see this switch is here. Fine. So I can click here and this will change the color. Let's change the color to our theme, and for that I will change the color of, if it is false then it will be brown. Okay, and if it is true then it will be blue. So if it's true it will be green. Okay, and top color I want this to be silver, so I think I can use this. I'll save this. Okay, and for this we will use this background color. Think I will get that background color from this folder here. Background color. Yes, the background color. Okay. Okay. So basically, it is the track color, means the color of this backside, the track. Okay, on which this, and there is the thumb. So if thumb is enabled, then which color, and if it is disabled, then which color you want to show. Okay, and basically if it is false, then which color, when it is true, which color. Okay, and I already explained you this. Now we want some text. So what I will do, I will create a view and I will put it this between the view, and after that we will have some text, and the text will say, are you a member of Code Club? Okay, and save this. So we are getting something like this. What I'm going to do is style it, and let's bring it using flex direction to row. After that, to bring it in the middle, we can use align items to be center, and okay, now it is center. Let's change the text color a little bit. Color, color will be, you might be thinking why I'm using the inline color, because we don't have much styling to this, so I thought it's better to put it here rather than creating a object in style.create. Okay, so some inline color is, some inline style is fine. Okay, so now it is looking perfect. We can make it true and false. Okay, so let's put that as well in our object, and I will call this after bio. Let's save this as is member will be is enabled. Okay, and this is enabled is coming from here. Okay, and now if we go to the form data where we are showing that here, what we can do, we can say if user dot is member, then show this text. Okay, else ignore it. So right now we don't have anything like is member coming from. So now let's test this once again, and I will say Lena title Lena put test 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 and submit. Okay, at that time it doesn't submit because it just clear out the keyboard. Now if we click, it will be submit, and now you can see Melina engineer, and she is the member of code club. If we say Melina 2 and she is not a member of code club, okay, and if I say submit, now we cannot see Melina 2 is not a member of code club. Okay, cool. So it is working fine. Now you can see that here we should have some links, but we are passing anything and it is accepting. So we must have some validations. Okay. So most of the time, backend servers also have the form validation before accepting the data from a client. It always validates that are we getting the right data. But it's also a job of a front end developer or a mobile app developer to validate the data before submitting it back to the backend. Okay, so now we can see that how we can do some validations manually. Okay, and some could be required, some could not be required. Okay, like username is required, suppose title is also required, this is not required, and then bio is not required, then at least it should provide one link of LinkedIn or GitHub. Okay, website is not required. So we will do something, some validations like that. Okay. Okay, guys. So let's validate our form manually. So manually, I'm just going to show you one form field that how to validate it. Okay. So we are going to validate the username, and here we want user to enter at least 4 characters and maximum 16 characters, not more than that. And he cannot keep this field empty. Okay, so these two things we want the user to have for the username. Why we are not doing the complete form? You might have this question, because manually doing a form validation is really very difficult, and you can see to validate a single input field how much code we have to write. That's why it is always better to use a library like React form hooks and yup to show the validations. Okay, to apply the validation. So we are going to do that, and we are going to do the React form hook in detail with the validations provided by yup. Okay, so for now, just to show you that how we can do a manual testing, a manual validation, I'm going to show you how to validate this username form field. Okay, so what I'm going to do is here I'm going to create a new function. Okay, and basically we are going to put our validation inside this, because if you want to do a manual validation, then this is the best place. so you don't have to target each input field individually. You can validate your data here before submitting it for the server. Okay, so I'm going to create validate username. Okay, and it will be a function. So basically we are going to add few conditions, like if username dot length is smaller than 4 or greater than 16, then we need to show an error. And how we can show that error? First, we need to store that error in a use state. Okay, for that, I'm going to create a new use state, and it will be initially null. So I can say user error and set user. Actually, it should be username error. Let's be clear and specific. Okay, and once that is done, we can use that set user name error. So here we have the message. Username must be between 4 to 16 characters, so that's fine. Else, we are going to set the error back to null. In case there is no error, then we are putting it back to null. Now, we can use this here, and we are going to put this function. And here also, we will only run this form submit. Basically, we are going to put this here, and we are not going to run it like this, but like this. If there is no user error, or basically it is null, then we are going to submit this. But in case we have an error, then we have to show that below our text input, and we can do that using a text. Okay, and here we can show our error, the name error. Okay, and we don't want this to be shown every time. That's why we are going to use username error. If it is there, then we are going to show that error. Else, we don't want to show this, right? So let's put some styles quickly. We will use a inline style for this, and I will say color red, font size 12. So rather than giving this, I like to give some padding to be maybe 4 is fine, and I want the background color to be red, but the font color will be white. And let's save this. Okay, so let's try this now. So if I say HEM, and we will put something over here, and let's try to submit this. So it is showing me error. Username must be between 4 to 6. That is good. I also want to give a radius, for a radius to 4. Now it is looking much cleaner, right? Let's give some padding to be 6, I think. Yeah, that's fine. So here it is. You can see that now if you want to do a validation for title, again you have to write this much code, right? And you have to set a use state, you have to write a condition, and then you have to run it here. We should have a condition over here, and definitely we can create a reusable function which will take some arguments from here, and we can also do that, but it's kind of a complex process. Okay, and you have to remember that everything is going fine, you have put everything properly, so it's going to be complicated. Why should not we use a library instead of this much hassle? Okay, so it's always better if we have a good library available for the task we want to do. It's always better to use that. Okay, and for that we are going to use React form hook. Okay, so let's go to the site and let me show you. So there's the React form hook, and if you click on get started, you can see we have the complete documentation over here, but for React we just have this much of the document. Rest is for the plain React, and for React Native we just have this code snippet, so it is little bit difficult to understand that what's going on and how to implement that. So let's do it step by step. Okay, so it says we need to install React form hook, so we will do that first. Let me copy this over here, let me paste it here and install it. Okay, so the form hook is installed. Right now let's follow the documentation. First of all, we need to import use form and controller from React form hook. So let me copy this here. Okay, once we get that, we can destructure these from use form. So let's copy this as it is. For now we will keep this, but we will remove that later because we don't need use state to manage the form. So we are going to use the use form method. Okay, and we have some default values here, so we don't have these values. So basically here we can use some default values which we want to show here. In case if you want, you can show some default values, but for now we want this to be blank, so it will be user username, then it will be title. So basically we are creating our object over here, and then we have member to be, by default it will be false. After that, bio, then we have URLs like LinkedIn, GitHub, and website. Okay, so these are the default values which we want. After that, we have a on submit function, and this on submit is called from handle sub. Basically they have handle submit over here. Again, this structure from the use form, so we have to use that, and handle submit will call on submit, and it will pass the data which is took from the form, and whatever our APIs we have, we can pass that to the API. But for now we will also going to use the console log our data. Okay. So for now, I will just console log our data over here, and let's comment this and handle form submit as well. Next, we have to use the controller and put our input inside the render prop of the controller. Okay. And controller is provided by React form hook. And then we have rules, and these rules are kind of a validation for each of the text input. Okay. So let's copy this for now. And we are going to use this. For now, we will ignore the image. Okay. We have rules. After that, we have render, which again take backs a callback. And then we have name. Okay. So name prop, basically it will be name, and this name should be match with the name which we have put in the default values. Okay. So name. After that, we will say render. Okay. And it's going to take an callback. And this is getting a field on change, blur, and value. So let me copy this over here. And let's go one by one on this. Okay. So basically on change is going to be here. Okay. So whatever the data we will have, and value is for value. Okay. It will keep the track of the value. So this is the controller. Basically, we have to get the controller, and this control is coming from use form hook. Okay, from here. And then we have rules basically for the validation and the name and the username. It should be unique. Okay. Each text input should have a unique name. After that, already I explained the render method. So in the render, on blur is optional. So basically, if you leave it, your form will still work. But it helps the controller to know that when user leave that text input. So basically, we select it, we type it, and then we leave it. Okay. And that's why we are going to use that on blur prop. So basically, we have to do the same for each text input. Okay. We have to use the controller, then render our text field in that. So I'm going to do that, and we'll talk once I complete this. You can follow along. Now for switch, we are going to do the same, but we'll copy this from here, and after view, I'm going to press the controller part. Okay, and let's copy this quickly. Let's move the name and let's change it to something which we already used, which is member. So let's copy this. Okay, so member, and on change. Basically, here we have to use on change in place of that function which we toggle function we created and value. And here we are going to use member. So by mistake, I do it here. Let's change it to username. And that's it. I guess this should work for the switch. Okay. So it will be same. Just here, we don't need on blur. Let's continue with the next form field. Okay. So it seems I forgot to add the on blur for the text inputs. So quickly, let's do that. Actually, here we don't need it, but here definitely we need it here as well. Okay, and that's okay. What is the error? Image doesn't exist. So let's go, and I think yes, this image is not received right now. So for now, let's remove this. And we are just going to use that as the default image, or for now, because we are not going to upload the image, so I think we will keep it separate. Okay, I think let's not add that in our form for now, but we will keep image upload for the next part. Okay, now we have to use the handle submit, and we have to provide it to the button. So basically, that handle submit will take this on submit function. Okay, so let's go to the button, submit button over here, and here we have, let's remove that and just put on submit inside the handle submit. Fine. So still we are getting the error from the image. So I will just remove this, and is enabled. So basically where it is coming from. Okay, so here we have the ease enabled. So I think we don't need that right now. In the place of ease enabled, we can use the value. So let's put value over there, and boom, this is working. Great. Now let's try to add some rules. for username, like max length. So basically it's going to count the characters, and max length should not be more than 16, and min length, sorry, it's not main, it's min length 4. Okay, so that's fine. Now let's show some error. So basically, if you see here, we are getting the errors. Okay, and error, if we type errors dot, it's going to show you the text input name we have mentioned in as a name, like bio name, but we are using username over here. Okay, so if there is username, then we are going to show a message over here inside text. Okay, and this is perfect. User is not required, sorry, user is required, or user must be between 4 to 16 characters. Okay, and we'll give some styles to it. Let's give inline style, color red, and let's give some, I think this is looking fine right now. And if we say 4 characters, the error is removed, right? So that's how the error works. Okay, so that's awesome. Okay, so now let's try to submit the form with the wrong value. So just 3 characters, and just I will fill up something. Okay, and let's submit it. Okay, now submit, and we can see the error. Okay, so errors are working. Now let's try to submit it and see if we are getting the values back. Still not showing. So what's the problem? So basically in our form, if you see, everything is required. Okay, so we set the rule for required, also for the switch, and I think we should not give required for switch, because user must have to make it, he have to be a member, so we don't want that. So now if we try to submit, are we missing anything else? So let's try to reload our app. Okay, and now if we, let's fill this form quickly. Let's try submit. Okay, and we are getting our data back, so that's good. That means it's working. Let's try once more. Okay, without membership enabled, it is working both the ways, so that's great. Now let's try to submit our data on the server. So basically we are getting this submit. Okay, and the submit is coming from app.js. Okay, so basically we have our handle submit function, and our prop is submit, right? So if we go back, basically you know that how this is working. Handle submit is posting our data on Axios APIs, right? And that API is going to submit the data to the server. So here we have our submit. So now we can let's copy this and replace this with console log, not errors, submit. So basically now it's going to submit, and let's try this Jack. Okay, let's reload the app once more again because sometimes that doesn't work. We make some changes, but it's not reflecting. Last time it happened sometimes. So let's try again. Okay, and this time we will say Tim. So let's get some lorem ipsum for a better bio, which will have few lines. Okay, so let's try to paste it over here. Let's type the links. Okay, and final one is a submit. Okay, now we have to submit. Okay, so this minimum 4 characters, right? So let's say Tim Cook. Okay, submit. And Tim Cook is here, CEO of Apple. Okay, that's cool. Now this is working. Our form is submitting, and also we are getting some validations. Okay. Next, we are going to do the validation using Yup, which allow us to create a schema, and that validation will be applied to all the text input. Okay. So what we are going to do is going to remove all these rules, because that is the best way rather than go and configure each and every text input for the validations. Rather than that, we can create a schema, and that schema will control your validations for the form. Okay, so let's remove everything, all the rules. Now let's open the Yep repository and let's install the Yep library. So basically it don't have any website, but there is a npm page where we can see the documentation as well, how to install it. Okay, so basically we are going to import Yep from Yep. Okay, so basically star is for everything. Okay, all the packages provided by Yep, we are going to use it as Yep. And next is Yep resolver, and it's provided by form hook only. Okay, so let's install yup and the resolver. Okay, so we have a separate package for resolver which we need to install. Let's install this as well. So I already installed yup. Okay, so how this is going to work is we are going to create a schema for yup. So it's going to be an object basically, and here we have to pass the text input name, like the suggestion it is provided by the tab 9 AI. So let's try to see that how it is doing it. So basically username is required with the message user is required. Okay, so we'll make some changes according to this, but we have to write our schema like this only. So basically the username is not only required, but we also have to provide the min. Okay, username must be 3 and max will be 16. And for title as well, I think let's give only max to this, max 20. And for bio, max 200. Say 200 here. And the error we want to show. Okay. So basically, these are the errors which are going to shown when that is not done. And here we want to get the link of LinkedIn. Okay, so we have to use a match, and here we have to provide a regex, which will detect the link. And this is the regex I found on internet for LinkedIn. So basically, it's going to say we can use linkedin.com/in/anything. Okay, and let's try same for the GitHub. Okay, and let's change the LinkedIn to GitHub. We also have to remove /in because we are not going to use /in there. Okay, and for website, let's copy this, and this is not going to be required, but whatever link user is providing, it must be a proper website link. Okay, so let's paste it here. Let's try to figure out the errors. Okay, now it is fine. Okay, cool. So our form validation is done. Let's try to reload the app because after installation of packages, we didn't reload our app. So let's reload our app and see how everything is working. Okay. Now, the final configuration we have to do here is we have to add the errors here. And now we can say errors.users.message. So basically, whatever the message we have put in the schema, those messages are going to be shown over here. Okay, so let's copy this and use it after each and every text input we have. Just remember to change the errors dot the text input name. So like here we have title. For switch we don't have anything, and that is also not required. So we can skip that. And remember, it is not required. Yes, it is only a boolean. So that is cool. Now for bio, let's use the same. Change the username to bio. Okay. Don't forget to change both the sides, otherwise it will show you two errors. Do it for GitHub and website as well. Okay, cool. We are done. Let's test it. Let's try some invalid data first and see how our errors are showing. Boom. Here we go. You can see all the errors are showing right now. And these are too big, so we have to change these. But definitely our errors are working. And these are really simple using yup. Okay. So let's change these error first. Okay. So basically, you can see here, if we remove this, these error are coming directly from yup. If we provide some message, then it will show that message, else it is going to uh, create its own errors. Okay, so that is great about yup. So that means we don't have to write our messages every time, but if we want to customize, then we can do that. Okay, so here you can see the difference. Let's provide some correct username, and it is very reactive. When you are putting the wrong input, it's going to show you that error at the same time. So let's improve these errors as well. So here, to provide the message, you just have to put a comma, and you can do please enter a valid LinkedIn URL, and let's do same for the GitHub and for the website. Okay. So that's how simple it is to manage it. Okay. Else we have to go on each and every text input and make those changes. So now let's try with a valid URL. Okay, so when we put the valid URL, the error is gone. So it is still asking for valid URL. Let's say gem. Okay, I think there is some problem with the validation or regex we are using for GitHub. That's why it is not taking that. So let's try to fix that quickly. So this is the new regex I found, and let's replace this with this. Okay, just copy this. You also change the regex for GitHub. And now let's try it. Let's reload it once. And now let's try. Now let's try to submit it because website is not required. Now, okay, there is some problem in LinkedIn URL, but GitHub is working. So here I forgot in. Okay, let's try again. Okay, still there is some problem. Okay, I forgot linked in. Now, if I try to submit, so here we go, Elon. Okay, so everything is working fine now. Let's provide a URL over here. Okay, there's some warning, possible promise warning. So let's see what is this. So the problem was in the regex of our website. Okay, now you can change with this and everything should work. Let's try to submit, and here we go. Website is also coming without any warnings. Now let's try to submit our form for one last final time. Okay, so I'm going to put my name and title. Let's say I'm the Port Club member and bio test. Okay, now http github.com/Hemanshu. Submit. Okay, submit. So form is submitted and here's our data. The last thing which is remaining, you can see that our form is not getting clear after submission. So if we are doing it manually, then we have to do again set state and empty inverted commas. So we can set the empty forms. But here, because we are using React Hook form, then we can use reset. Okay. And this reset, we just have to apply it to our submit function. For that, what I will do is I will put it in a curly braces, and after submitting the data, we want to reset our form. Okay, let's try it for the one last time. So let's try to submit a new form. some new data. I'll say Hemanshu test. Everything will be test. But here I have to submit it completely. And let's try to submit this. Okay. So form is submitted and form is get cleared as well. Our data is submitted to the server and our form is clear for a new use. Okay, so that's great. So guys, I hope you have learned how to validate the data using React Form Hook. So if you have learned something from today's video, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Till then, take care and keep learning.